So I watched Elvis. It stars Austin Butler as the titular role. It also stars Tom Hanks as Colonel, the guy who abused Elvis. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. Um, I watched the movie last night. Colonel Parker. That's his name. Um, and it's also directed by Baz Luhrmann. I know he's the guy who he directed The Great Gatsby. He also directed Moulin Rouge. That like weird Romeo and Juliet movie. I think that's set in like modern times or something. So he's definitely a director with a style. Now I haven't seen Moulin Rouge. I vaguely remember seeing that Romeo and Juliet movie, at least some of it. Um, and I did see The Great Gatsby. Wasn't a huge fan of The Great Gatsby. Um, and yeah, so but I do kind of want to watch Moulin Rouge because I know that's kind of like his crown jewel achievement. But anyways, when it comes to Elvis, I quite enjoyed this movie. I only mentioned that he directed those movies because he has a style. Like this movie is very stylized, and I don't think it's necessarily going to be for everyone. I mean, it's very chaotic the way it's edited, the way transitions happen. It's like it's at some points it's almost like when the movie starts, I literally thought I was watching a trailer. Like I thought that they accidentally put in the trailer for the movie. But no, it was just the movie, and then my brain kind of was able to adjust exactly what the director was going for, and I did end up liking it. And the rest of the movie isn't quite as extreme as it starts. But no, that's the one thing about this movie is that it is just this rapid onslaught of just chaos and incredibly fast pacing, and it doesn't really let go for 2.5 hours. That's the other thing. It's a very long movie, and you definitely feel it. And I think that's my biggest complaint about it is that it could have been shorter. Like especially like there are a lot of like musical numbers where you just hear Elvis singing, and then you see like a montage of things happening, and it's like not that the montages don't express an idea or an emotion that is trying to convey that helps the story. I wouldn't say that the montages are useless, but you could have shortened them. They don't need to go for as long as they did. Um, and then I will also say is that at the same time, while the movie is too long, it's also in some ways too short because the movie feels like it goes into like great detail as far as Elvis's early life goes. And then once they kind of get to the latter half, it feels like they ran out of movie. So they just like run through the latter half of his life. And so we definitely don't get as good of an understanding, I feel, into his early life. And I also bring that up because I don't really know anything about Elvis. I didn't know much about Elvis before watching this movie. I'm a zoomer, zip zopping around, and I didn't know. So this movie was definitely educational. Now, granted, I don't know how much of it is accurate or not. I'm sure like massive Elvis fans are gonna nitpick this movie to death. So I should probably read the Wikipedia article or something. But it I definitely learned a lot. Like I didn't know just how tragic Elvis's life was. I didn't realize how just almost like an indentured servant he really was. It was I and because like at the end of the day, this movie it's not like when you're watching the movie, it's not like yeah Elvis, it's awesome. It's like it's kind of just chilling and sad, and it's like when by the time the movie ends it's like whoa, it's rough. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't go into this expecting like this huge celebration of Elvis necessarily, because it really more so focuses on his relationship with Colonel Parker and just how awful that whole thing ended up. But yeah, and then as far as Austin Butler goes, I mean, I think he gives a really good performance. Again, I don't know a ton about Elvis, so maybe he actually was really bad in the movie and he was nothing like Elvis was in real life. I wouldn't know because I haven't seen interviews with Elvis or anything like that, but he seemed like he did a good job. I think Tom Hanks does a really good job as the Colonel. Tom Hanks is one of the most lovable people on the planet, and he made himself not lovable, so that's an achievement, I guess. Um, and so yeah, I quite enjoyed the movie, but it just has a couple flaws to it, which is the length and the just the script, just the way that it didn't like pace out the sort of parts of his life to have it be a more cohesive experience. It's very very heavily focused on the beginning of Elvis's life and his career, and then they just kind of rush through the latter half. And it's like, I get it, because it's, at the end of the day, even a 2.5 hour movie, it's not a ton of time to tell a man's life story. But I think they, like, if you're gonna go into the latter half of his life, I mean, you have to pace it better, and so that people get a better understanding of exactly what that was like. But either way, I definitely would recommend it. I mean, if you're a fan of Elvis, you're gonna get, probably a bit of more personal insight into his life. You're gonna be able to see his songs reimagined in on the big screen. Which, even though at the end of the day, like, is this a fun movie? No, but I would imagine that you're gonna still enjoy seeing like the songs performed and presented the way that they're presented in this movie. And yeah, and even if you're just looking for a good movie, it is good, and I think it is emotionally impactful. So yeah, have you seen Elvis? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, like the video, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video, and goodbye.